Very good evening, friends. I, Sanjay Chakravarti, on behalf of Brand Club Gujarat, Ahmedabad Management Association, and TiE Ahmedabad, welcome you all to this not much but very much awaited session. Let me briefly introduce Brand Club Gujarat to you. Brand Club Gujarat, a club of by and for like-minded individuals, is involved in the various facets of advertising and marketing communication. The mission of the club is to create forums and events to help its members improve their professional competencies, thereby raising the standards of advertising in the state. Since more than a decade, it has been conducting fruitful sessions and taking effective initiatives for the benefit of marketing communication fraternity. In 2021, we introduced our flagship event, Virtual Brand Fest Season 1, followed by the next two seasons in 2022 and 2023, respectively. We have been receiving an overwhelming response to these initiatives. We have been very fortunate to have veterans of the industry as our esteemed speakers. The virtual nature of the events has helped us reach a larger audience across country and abroad, and also help enhance the participation and learning of the business, marketing, advertising, and communication fraternity at large. Our initiatives are constantly supported by major media houses of Gujarat, eminent business houses, ad associations, PR agencies, and more than 15 eminent business schools, giving us an opportunity to interact with Gen X audience. Continuing the tradition of curating such sessions and with an aim of contributing to the industry, today we are highly motivated to have Mr. Harish Bhat, brand custodian, Tata Sons, in this forum to share his experiences, thoughts, and views of his latest book, Office Secrets, 50 Human Truth You Should Absolutely Know. To speak of Harish and his contribution to the industry, I feel extremely privileged. It is like introducing someone who actually doesn't need any introduction because of his impressive profile, journey, and contribution to the industry. Harish Bhat is a brand custodian at Tata Sons, overseeing marketing and brand development for Tata, India's most valuable brand. He is also the chairman of Tata Coffee Limited and serves as a director on the boards of several Tata Group companies, including Trent, Tata Starbucks, Infinity Retail, that is Chroma, and Tata AIA Life Insurance Company. With a career spanning 35 years in Tata Group, Harish has held key positions such as MD and CEO of Tata Global Beverages, as COO of Titan Companies, watches, and jewelry businesses. He has been instrumental in nurturing iconic Tata brands like Titan, Fastrack, Tanishq, and Tata Tea. With prolific writing skills, Harish is a renowned author with 4 published books, including national bestsellers like Tata Log and Tata Stories, as well as a work of fiction titled An Extreme Love of Coffee. He regularly contributes as a columnist for national Indian newspapers like Hindu Business Line and Mint. Harish holds an engineering degree from BITS Pilani and completed his postgraduate studies in business at IIM Ahmedabad, which is from our own town, where he received the prestigious IIM Ahmedabad Gold Medal for scholastic excellence in 1987. He was also awarded as Chevening Scholarship for Young Managers by British government and received the Distinguished Alumnus Award from BITS Pilani in 2017. LinkedIn recognized him as one of their top voices of India in 2019, and Forbes listed him as one of the world's top 10 most influential chief marketing officer in 2022. Salute to you, sir. Harish is a passionate foodie and fitness enthusiast, which you can very well make out from the impressive profile picture of his. Today, we are here to hear from Harish, a writer with great insights about the latest book, Office Secrets, 50 Human Truths You Should Absolutely Know. To tell you a little bit about that book, this book offers a selection of fascinating and useful secrets that can help you be far more successful at your workplace. As a bonus, they make you happier as well. You will find within a range of subjects whether the best methods of fighting exhaustion, organizing your work desk, the power of listening, why kindness is so important in workplace, and what you can learn from the cookies that your colleagues eat. The book is intended for a lighter reading and stores good messages as takeaways. You will find solutions that will refresh your mind and bring a smile on your face. Coming from Harish, it should surely work. I feel this is the most gifted in self-help for a workplace. I will not divulge much about this book, because today we have the wordsmith himself. We are overjoyed to have you, sir, today. Before I hand over the forum to you, I would request the participant to kindly write their questions in the chat box or raise their hands. We have a separate segment for questions and answers in the end of the season, of the session. Harish, sir, it's all yours now.
Thank you, Mr. Chakravarti. Really appreciate your warm words of introduction. I just want to check with you, am I visible and audible?
Yes, sir, very much.
Because, you know, I'm speaking from the city of Bangalore and the traffic here is always difficult. But I hope the traffic of my voice is easier to Ahmedabad.
No, sir, you're absolutely clear.
Yeah. So, you know, it's such a pleasure to speak to the Brand Club Ahmedabad. Firstly, congratulations on all the work that you do in evangelizing marketing and management for all your members. Of course, for me, speaking to a team or an audience in Ahmedabad is like coming home, because I have spent, you know, a couple of years of my life in Ahmedabad studying there. And I must, you know, I must say how much I admire your city. I was there most recently for the Tata IPL finals, which happened, I think, a couple of months ago, and got an opportunity to look around the city as well. Today, you know, I'm going to speak about my latest book, Office Secrets. So many of you may say, and this is the book. For those of you who have not seen it, it has just been published by Penguin Random House. This is a book with a little bit of a difference. You know, if you look at the quotes which this book carries, for instance, Aparna Piramal Raje says, she's the best-selling author of Chemical Khichdi. She says, Harish Bhat's Office Secrets will make you laugh out loud, warm your heart, and nourish your intellect all at once. He unravels the daily joys and mysteries of modern work life with insight, humor, and grace. So why will an office book make you laugh out loud? You know, normally when we look at office books or business books, you associate them with serious books, you associate them with frameworks, with concepts. Those are important. Of course, those are important. I had many of those books that I learned from when I was at IIM Ahmedabad also. But it's also important to remember that, you know, economics and financial secrets and strategic secrets are not the only secrets in offices. There are many, many human secrets as well. For instance, the secret of how to be generous, the secret of how to fight exhaustion. All of us get exhausted sometimes. The secret of how to organize your work desk, the secret of how to ask good questions, the secret of listening. You know, what do you understand when you see how your colleagues eat the biscuits in office or the cookies in office? What are the lessons you can pick out from there? What lessons can you learn from a detective like Hercule Poirot or from a writer like Shakespeare? What is the importance of good filter coffee in an office? Is it just something that you drink, or is there a real importance to it? You know, there are so many of these lighter questions, which are all the human questions of being in an office. I would contend, even as I wrote the book, that there are so many things in offices which are humorous. And this book tries to take a light-hearted look at many of these office secrets, which are so important to us. Let me begin with a secret which is not humorous, but which I think is very, very important. Let me begin with the topic of generosity. You know, 10 years back, I wrote my first book. It was called Tata Log. When I wrote it, I was a manager in Titan, selling and marketing watches, and I wanted to write a book. So I wrote an email to one of the senior most directors of the Tata Group at that time, Mr. R. Gopalakrishnan, who I think has also spoken at your brand club, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He was there in the brand festival, sir.
That's right. He was a senior director. You know, he was the vice chairman of Unilever. After that, he was the director of Tata Sons. And I was here, a manager from Titan, writing to him saying, "Humko book likhna hai. I would like to come and meet." I was not even expecting a reply from him because I thought he would be very busy. But I got a reply. I got a reply and he said, "Harish, please come across. I'll be happy to meet you." I went to his office. He gave me an hour's time to discuss which story should go into my book, to discuss how a book should be written, to give me suggestions. And the meeting actually went into 1.5 to 2 hours in his office on the 4th floor of Bombay House. And then I went back and I started researching the book and I started writing it. Part of the time I stayed at the Tata Management Training Center in Pune to write the book. And one Sunday, Mr. Gopalakrishnan turns up there. He says, I've come here to understand how your book is getting along. And he sits with me and understands how my writing was so far. What are the challenges that I've faced, how I can overcome them. He has dinner with me that night at the TMTC dining room, and explains a few more things to me. He says, a book that you write should be readable on a flight. Keep it to within 2 to 3 hours of reading time. He talks about the language, which can lead to writers appreciating the simplicity of language. After that, he goes back to Bombay. And then I write to him saying, sir, now the manuscript is ready. Will you write a foreword for the book for me? Once again, he agrees to write the foreword. And I was at that time an unknown writer. For him to do so much is something that I will never forget throughout my life. Now, Mr. Gopalakrishnan may be an extremely successful manager in Unilever and in the Tata Group. He has been director on our boards, chairman on boards. He is known as a management guru. But what I will remember him for is this act of generosity in helping me with my first book. And generosity is a very, very important trait in offices. It's a very, very important trait. You can show generosity by listening and sharing. You can show generosity by giving time, giving opportunities to people, opening doors for people. You can show generosity by doing something unexpected. For instance, at the Tata IPL finals, I happened to meet Kapil Dev. All of you know Kapil Dev. He is the person who helped India win the World Cup in 1983. And my younger sister, who lives in the US, is a great admirer of Kapil Dev. She has kept every press cutting of Kapil Dev. So I asked Kapil Dev, I said, sir, will you give me a selfie, which I can send to my sister? So Kapil Dev turns around and tells me, why a selfie, Harish? I will give you a customized video message for your sister. Tell me your sister's name. And I told him my sister's name is Shamala, and he records a 2-minute video message for my sister, talking to her, wishing her the best, and also saying that he will be coming to the US very soon. Now that is generosity. You don't expect that of a person like Kapil Dev. So that's an unexpected delight. I believe that generosity is very, very important in our offices, because what generosity does, first and foremost, I think generosity motivates people, the people whom you're generous to, and motivated people probably do the best to surpass the boundaries that they have in front of them. But generosity is also an act of reaching out to our team members or to our peers and signaling to them how important they are. When Mr. Gopalakrishnan gave me that much time for my first book, it was a signal to me that, Harish, this is important to us and you're important to us. It is an act of kindness. And because it is an act of kindness, it is not just rewarding for the receiver, but it is rewarding for the giver also. The giver also feels fulfilled. It creates even stronger bonding and team spirit within organizations. So there are many, many reasons for generosity. But you never teach generosity in an MBA school. I never learned generosity in the books of a business school. However, it is one of the most important topics that leadership should know and managers should know. So in this book, Office Secrets, I talk about how can you be generous? What are the benefits of being generous? And what are the methods of being generous? And it is something that I have discovered over 36 years of my career. So this book is not really born out of any big management concepts. It's a book born out of 3.5 decades of my working within the Tata Group. Now, if I move away from generosity to another topic, I don't know how many of you on this call have ever daydreamt, have ever engaged in daydream. You can respond to the chat window if you want to. How many of you engage in daydream? Because all the time we hear, our parents told us, don't daydream, read your textbook. Yeah, so I can see Ria saying that, yes, I daydream. Kushbu Sharma is saying I daydream. Khushi is saying I daydream. Rikin Shah is putting hands up saying daydream, yes. Karan, Mehul, I can see at least 8-10 people now. Chirag, Dev Shah. Now the point I want to make, thank you very much for telling me that all of you daydream. You know, it's very interesting. We have always been told by our parents and teachers, don't daydream. In class, if we are daydreaming, the teacher says, "Kahan dekh rahe ho aap? Thoda matlab attention do, jo class pe ho raha hai." If you daydream at home, your parents may well say, "Homework, is it over or not? You do your homework, daydreaming baad mein karenge." So we grow up with a notion that daydreaming is not such a good thing to do. It's a waste of time. But actually, do you know that daydreaming is a very important thing to do, and it has many benefits. So one of the stories I cover in this book is about daydreaming. And let me tell you about daydreaming. Scientists have told us that 45% of our waking time is spent daydreaming. And that's important for us as human beings. Why? Because all of us experience stress. Sometimes when you are stressed out, you're exhausted. Research shows that daydreaming is an excellent method of getting away from stress-induced anxiety to a state of happy equilibrium. You know, because you're letting your mind wander into nice things when you daydream. You're letting your mind wander into a nice dinner or a nice movie you've seen or a nice trek you've gone on. And as a result of that, you're moving away from the perceived threats of your present reality, which are causing you stress. As a result of that, when you daydream for some time and then come back to your current reality, you come back to your current reality with a relaxed mind. That is why daydreaming is important. And then you're able to finish your unfinished task earlier. But daydreaming is also important because you can solve difficult problems using daydream. Sometimes your mind gets saturated with a topic. You know, there's a problem that you have. You're continuing to think about that problem. Solution hi nahi aa raha hai. You're running into a dead end. Your mind is saturated. Has that happened to you or not? It has happened to me definitely many times when I think about marketing or people problems or other issues. Yeah, so again, I can see people saying yes. So when you relax your mind and go into daydreaming, what happens is that you have a wandering mind, and that wandering mind uses different sections of the brain together, using our past knowledge, using the thoughts which are stored within different parts of our memory, and suddenly these thoughts can weave together to create a eureka moment for you where that solution comes into your mind. It has happened many times for us, many times for me. You have to saturate your mind with the problem, then go ahead and daydream or do some other relaxing activity, and the solution can drop into your mind. So daydreaming is very important. Daydreaming is also very important for setting a goal for yourself, you know, for what they call manifesting or what they call positive constructive daydreaming. There is a gentleman called Jerome Singer, the clinical psychologist in America, who is called the father of daydreaming. And he points out, if you have a desirable future state, let's say you want to run the Tata Mumbai Marathon, 21 kilometers or 42 kilometers. Easy nahi hai. I can't manage to run it, but let's say I want to run it. If you can daydream about all the things you will do to get to that goal. I will run 5 kilometers today. I will run 10 kilometers next month. I will join a neighborhood training group. I will build muscle and stamina by eating more protein. I will go for a small race and complete it, 10 kilometers. Then I will prepare for the half marathon. If you daydream all these things in your time, when you have time, then your brain gets wired towards doing these things and you adapt your mind to eventually achieve this success. But of course, you know, for you to daydream about this, what your goal should be in the realm of possibility. I can't daydream about the fact that, Harish Bhat, I want to become an Olympic athlete. You know, at this age, I am unlikely to become an Olympic athlete. But if you daydream of things which are in the realms of possibility, I want to write a book. I want to run the marathon. I want to open a small, you know, home restaurant of my own. I want to open a small, you know, design office of my own. If you daydream about things that you really want to do and you're passionate about, daydreaming can help you greatly. But apart from that, daydreaming is also sheer pleasure. The very act of daydreaming, like a coffee break, it provides you a unique sense of happiness. How many times have I looked out of the window and daydreamed? And you find that it brings up our finest memories. You're able to reflect on your lives. You're able to imagine new things, all without any immediate pressure to perform. It is the pressure to perform that takes away from our creativity, whereas daydreaming lets your creativity loose. And therefore, we come back to our real lives feeling totally refreshed. So another story in this book is about daydreaming, just like generosity. And like generosity and like daydreaming, there are 50 stories included in this book. Each of them are about the softer human aspects of our offices. Why generosity is important, why daydreaming is important. But I should also go to some other kinds of stories in this book. This book comes from my observations as a manager. And one of the interesting things I have discovered is that, in offices or in meetings, one of the common things that are served are biscuits or cookies. Am I right? They come in, in plates. You say, chai ke saath thode biscuit leke aao. I have found that when you observe how people eat biscuits or they eat cookies in offices, you actually get a very good inroad into their personality. Let me illustrate this. When the cookies arrive on the table, typically people are very hungry and their responses vary. You'll find one kind of person who immediately grabs a cookie and starts eating. He will not wait, he or she will not wait even 1 minute. Aise dekha hai ki nahi? Have you seen them or not? And these are the people, they're lightning fast. He knows exactly which cookie he wants and he will pick it up. He has no thought for which cookies others want. He is very, very clear ki haan, yehi cookie chahiye humko, jam wala cookie. This person has absolute clarity on what he wants in life. And he will waste no time in getting there. You can make that out immediately from his cookie behavior. But close behind him, you may find another person who is finding it very difficult to decide. ये cashew nut cookie लेना है कि ये jam cookie लेना है कि ये मारी बिस्किट लेना है. इसमें ज्यादा शुगर होगा, इसमें ज्यादा कोलेस्ट्रॉल हो सकता है, ये मारी बिस्किट में तो कुछ स्वीटनेस होगा ही नहीं, अभी कौन सा लेना है. He loves all these cookies, but he has the civilized decency to know एक ही लेना है at one time. So he will keep on varying between the cookies, deciding finally, thoda internal duress or stress ke baad, he will pick up one cookie from the plate. Now, this is a man who will always be dissatisfied, or man or woman who will always be dissatisfied throughout their life, because like a brooding Hamlet, they take so much time to decide on a cookie itself. So grabber hai or ye confused आदमी hai, but you also have the health fanatic. Now, बहुत सारे लोग हैं जो health fanatics हैं. They will look at cookies with suspicion. They will say, हाँ इसमें बहुत सारे calories हैं, cholesterol है, sugar है. I must totally resist eating this cookie. I should not eat it. मैं घर जाके केवल fruits खाऊंगा, आज cookie पे हाथ नहीं लगाऊंगा. For him, the cookie is a dangerous piece. So sometimes he will only take a small bite of the cookie. थोड़ा piece लेके खाएंगे. He will not eat the full cookie. He will eat one small piece, he will eat the next small piece. Finally, he will decide what is the point in leaving this cookie on the table, and he will eat the full. So you have those kind of eaters also. Then you have the picky eaters. The picky eaters are people, if there's a cream biscuit or a jam cookie, they will eat the cream or the jam. They may not eat all the biscuit. We have done that as children, and many people continue to do that as adults also. These people will choose their way through life. They will always decide exactly what they want and not what they don't want. And finally, you have the carry bag. He goes to a hotel for a conference. If there are any cookies left over on the table after the meeting has got over, he will put them into his bag and take them. For him, it is a very, very clear thing. Why should you waste these cookies? He believes his conscience is in the clear because the hotel ko already pay kiya hai. So what is the point in leaving the cookies behind? So this is a person who will maximize his approach to life. Everything, every single penny that she or he perceives is due to him or her, they will take with them. So they are a wonderful negotiator to have in your team at all times. They will be doing wonderful in negotiations. Now, this is a small illustration of one story in this book, where I have said that the methods by which people choose cookies, if you observe them, you can get a lot of insight into their personality or the kind of people they are. So the next time you're in a meeting, it may be a biscuit or cookie which is served, or it may be something else. Something else may be served also for snacks in your office. You please observe carefully what are people eating and how are they eating, and then think to yourself, what is the insight this gives me into that person's personality. So that is also, one of the stories in this book, which I am sure that you will enjoy listening. But equally, moving away from that, one of the things that we forget to do in offices is to ask the questions which really matter. Asking questions is a very important art. The questions that you ask will get you the answers that you deserve. Many people are not very good at asking questions. In fact, they have done research at the Harvard University, where they have come to the conclusion that not enough of the right questions are being asked. Lots of lazy questions are being asked, just to show that you're bright and intelligent, rather than questions which delve deep enough. And those questions do more harm than good. How can you ask the questions that really matter? First and foremost, if you're seeking information, be sure that you ask questions. Otherwise, if you sit in a meeting not asking questions at all, it is of no use. Unless you ask questions, people will not answer you. Second, if you want information, avoid useless questions. Questions like, how are you today? Okay, you'll get some answer, but you're not likely to get much information about the subject that you're asking. Because in all likelihood, the person will say, I'm fine, and how are you? Neither of you are too bothered about the response to the question. But if you were to if you really wanted to know about that person, if you were to ask that person, what are you planning to do this weekend? Or what food are you preparing for your family this week? You may get better insights into that person's personality. But the most important part of asking questions is to ask follow-up questions. If a person is speaking on a particular topic, like I am speaking on office secrets now, the best questions will always be follow-up questions, because the speaker has some knowledge of that subject. And second, the speaker is interested in that subject. Otherwise, he or she will not be speaking on it. So how do you ask follow-up questions? In fact, when you ask follow-up questions, there is research done in Harvard University in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology. They have said when you ask follow-up questions, you are better liked by the other people in the meeting, because you're not deviating. You're asking a question on a subject which is already being covered. And finally, to ask great questions, you actually have to ask people questions about the topic that they are an expert on. If you ask a question which is meant to expose the person's ignorance, then it's of no use to you, because you may end up exposing their ignorance, but you're not going to get any additional information. So asking questions, for instance, suppose you're asking a sales team questions at the sales review, rather than just asking them, what were the top 3 things you did to achieve the sales? Or rather than just congratulating them on the results, if you ask them, what was the most exciting thing you learned about your customers last month? What challenges did you face last month, and how did you try to resolve these challenges? Can you share one nice story from last month, which shows how you were able to achieve the sale and which you are proud of? Is there anything I should know about the new members of your team? If you ask questions of that manner, which probe a subject which the speaker already knows, and which brings out new insights about the topic that he or she is covering, then I think you will get the best answers to the kind of questions that you're asking. So the art of asking great questions is a very, very important art in offices. And again, in business school, no one teaches you this art. Have you ever come across a course which says art of asking questions? I think it should be there in every business school. I think it should be there in every training program, because asking questions is the best way to discover answers. So ladies and gentlemen, I've covered, I was given 20-25 minutes to speak about the book. I know we are going into a Q&A now, but this book, Office Secrets, has 50 such stories, 50 such essays on 50 topics like generosity, daydreaming, asking questions, cookies, etc. What topics have I covered in this book? Just for your information, I've covered why do people talk so much in meetings? How do you resolve exhaustion? How do you hit the refresh button? Why does writing make you happier? Why should your PowerPoint slides never be more than 5 or 6 slides per presentation? What does the coffee or tea mug from which you drink tell about your personality? How do you listen in the best possible manner? How do you find the best places in your home or in your office for ideation and creativity? Why should you use a notebook to take notes? What are the joys of a notebook? What are the 7 habits of very happy managers? Not very effective managers, but very happy managers. What is a program in extreme reverse mentoring, PERM? What does it do? How do you switch off and relax? How do you switch off from work and relax? Very important trait that all of us should know. The beverages and foods that you serve to people visiting your office, what do they say about you? How do you look during meetings? What can you learn from Albert Einstein and from Hercule Poirot, which is important for you as a marketer or as a manager? This gives you some idea of the range of topics covered in Office Secrets. It's a very light book. You can read any of the 50 essays at any point you want. Like Suparna Mitra, the CEO of Watches and Wearables in Titan, has said, this is a book which contains tiny but terrific hacks to navigate corporate corridors. Like Aparna Piramal Raje has said, they will make you laugh out loud and warm your heart and nourish your intellect. Piyush Pandey, the chairman of Ogilvy, has said, please read this book. You'll love it like he did. And he called me and he said how much he loved this book. You know, it's fun and insightful, says Shiv Kumar. Just this morning, I had one of my wife's friends who was traveling in a train, in a Vande Bharat train, writing to my wife saying it's a hilarious book. She found it fun and enjoyable to read, and she was able to relate to every situation because these are situations which happen in all our lives and offices. So that is a brief introduction that I'd like to provide to Office Secrets. I hope all of you decide to read this book and you enjoy it thoroughly. My email address is on the very first page of this book. If you want to write back to me with your views, I'll be very happy to listen to you as well. So Mr. Chakravarti, that was a brief description of the book here. And I'm very, very happy now, to answer you on any of the questions that you'd like to ask me.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to introduce my book to all your members.
Thank you, sir. We were totally engrossed in the fascinating stories of your book. Your expressions have been very lucid, and I'm sure the book definitely stores many more good messages and takeaways. I would specifically request you to spare 2 minutes on the 5-slide formula which you have mentioned in the book, which is a very interesting one and can be helpful for every one of us.
Yeah.
So, 5-slide, yeah.
Yeah. So, I have said, Mr. Chakravarti, that PowerPoint slides are not always good. Because when people prepare PowerPoint slides, people pay a lot more attention to designing those slides, putting the visuals in those slides, making sure the slides are visually impressive, that they forget that the most important thing of the slides is the content in the slides. And you prepare such huge decks, 100 slides, 150 slides, thinking that you're going to impress people. But that is not the case. People today are bored and tired of these long PowerPoint presentations. If you are able to put your ideas into 5 or 6 slides in a very, very simple way, then people will pick out the main messages that you want them to get. And even those slides keep the amount of text which is very limited. One of my colleagues told me earlier that the best presentation you can make is if you can put your ideas in a single slide. But that is not always possible. I have not succeeded. But any presentation you want to make, I think 5 to 6 slides, which give the core idea that you're trying to present, is probably the most impactful way that you can talk to any audience that you want. Is it easy? No. It is easy to, it is easy to carry the Govardhan Parvat when you cannot find the, when you cannot find the herb. That is easy. But to find the herb, which is the essence, and present it in very brief, means you have to think through that issue. And then you have to put down only the essence of the issue on slides that you want to be discussed in the meeting. So that is the point that I'm trying to make when I say dump your PowerPoint slides. And if you can actually do a meeting without PowerPoint, that is even better. If you can prepare a 1-page note and discuss your points, just like just now with my book. I'm not having a PowerPoint presentation about my book. I could have put a PowerPoint presentation ki haan 50 story hai, 50 slide dal do. But I think this way of speaking without a PowerPoint slide is actually more engaging. because I'm listening to you, I'm conversing with you, you are listening to me rather than having to look at some slide in the background. So I think there's a great deal of benefit in minimizing PowerPoint. That is the point I make, Mr. Chakravarti.
Thank you, sir. Great. Now let me open the forum for a few interesting questions. I think Ritam has raised his hand and he wanted to ask some questions. Ritam.
Yeah. Hi, Ritam. How are you?
Hi, sir. I'm good, and thank you for asking.
Yeah, should I say Kemcho? Is that the right words?
Yeah. Of course, yes. All of us are tuned to Kemcho. Very interestingly, I picked up your book, and I thought within next 3 days I'll finish it. I started at 9 p.m. and by 1 a.m. in the night I was completely done reading it.
That is nice.
And I think every topic was relatable. Every person was relatable. So what I did was I started taking a pencil and writing names of people whom I could relate to that particular incident.
Good.
And so I think I've done too much of bucketing. And also introduction is very interesting because there is fitness and foodie coming together, which is a very rare thing in today's time.
I think, go ahead. Please go ahead, Ritam. Yeah.
So while you were talking about generosity, and I loved the example that you gave, a lot of times I think that while I'm running my organization, I find that one of the things which has happened now with the newer generation is that the relationships within office have become very transactional to an extent. Unlike, my brother works at Tata Sons, so I've seen the kind of love he has, the kind of culture they have. He doesn't want to move out, but that is not the case in a lot of younger organizations. So do you think that generosity still helps, even if at the cost of being generous and knowing that there is no way that it's ever going to help you?
Yeah. So Ritam, the thing about generosity is not about giving money to others. Okay? Generosity is not about sharing some strategic secrets with others. Generosity is about simple things. Can you give 10 minutes to your colleague to listen to a problem that he has and help him or her to solve it? Generosity is about, can you provide your colleague, suppose they are tackling an issue, can you also sit in the brainstorming session and help to tackle that issue? Generosity is about, if you're an expert in something, telling people, listen, if there is an issue in this area being discussed, I'm happy to give you my views, even if it is not under my team. Now, that does not take away from the transactions. Transactions are very important in an office to finish your work, to reach the targets, etc. But generosity does not take too much time. Sometimes 10 minutes, sometimes half an hour. It only requires the attitude in your mind that I want to help someone. And generosity will always be remembered by the person whom you help. Not only will it motivate that person, even if that person is in another team, need not necessarily be in your team, it will always get remembered. And you as a manager will also feel very fulfilled. Ki haan, maine kuch useful kiya hai kisi ke liye. Which is also very important for us as people. We want to feel that we are helping others. There is also a selfish benefit to helping others, which is that you feel good about helping others. So I believe that whether an organization is young or old, I think generosity is a good habit to have. And even if the rest of your organization is not practicing generosity in a big way, nothing stops you from starting. Nothing stops me from starting and taking a couple of easy steps towards generosity. I believe that generosity and kindness are the basics of good human behavior. I agree with you. Sometimes difficult to practice, but what I remember in my career are the people who have been generous to me. I don't necessarily remember the sales target I met 20 years back.
Right.
But I remember the people who are generous to me 20 years back.
I think that sums it up very well.
Yeah.
And
thank
just
you,
one thing.
Thank you for the interesting question, and very happy that you have read the book. If possible, do try to write a few sentences on it and post it somewhere. I think I will definitely look at it. Okay.
Okay, just one thing. What type of cookie person are you?
What are you going to do now with those names that you have, that you have written against each? That is for your self-discovery, is it?
Yes, it is for my self-discovery.
Okay.
For better understanding those traits
Yeah.
the next time I interact with them.
Sure. Thank you, Ritam.
Yeah, Ritam.
Mr. Bhat, I have one observation that daydreaming you are saying, is it daydreaming or imagination, power of imagination? Because yes.
Yeah. What I was saying is, power of imagination is one part. Okay. There are still sessions which are brainstorming sessions, ideation sessions, जहाँ पे power of imagination naturally plays it. लेकिन daydreaming से मैं, I was referring to such situations. Let's say I am in a meeting. I'm in a very boring meeting where nothing is of interest. Suddenly my mind starts wandering. That is daydreaming. Okay. Or I'm sitting on my table trying to write a book or trying to write a paper or a note. My mind is totally blocked because I've got very stressed and I cannot write. Suddenly my mind goes loose and starts thinking about the holiday that I had in Goa last year. That is daydreaming. Okay, so daydreaming is any situation which takes you away from your current serious reality into your memories, could be into a fantasy world, and it happens very unconsciously, like Dr. Matthew has just said. It happens very unconsciously. You don't say, "Ha, abhi daydream karna." Daydream comes to you by itself. Whereas using your imagination, sometimes you may be doing consciously. Ki, "Ha, ye creative meeting hai, imagination use karna."
Okay, but I feel it affects your mindfulness. You know, if you are in a meeting and you are thinking something else.
I agree. I agree. So, daydreaming also, I'm not saying that in an important meeting which is of relevance to you, you should necessarily daydream. But I'm saying there are many use cases. The meeting may be totally useless and boring to you. You may just be sitting there. Or you may be in a situation where you're sitting by yourself on your desk, but you are very stressed because of something which has happened. Or you may be in a situation, crack a problem, solution ही नहीं आ रहा है आपके मन. In those situations, daydreaming is helpful to solve that problem because it relaxes your mind, and when your mind is relaxed, it works in a different way. When it is stressed, sometimes it will not work. So there is actually, if you read this chapter in the book, there are one or two references that I have given you here. In particular, if you read the work of Jerome Singer, the American clinical psychologist, his work tells you that daydreaming about a future desired state is really, really helpful. These days you also call it manifesting, manifesting for the future. So that's really, really helpful. But I believe in many circumstances, daydreaming is a good thing to do. We should not rubbish daydreaming.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think Khushbu had a question. Khushbu, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah.
Thank you, Harish.
Khushbu, I can hear you.
Yeah, thank you, Harish. I'm Khushbu here. I run a small agency in Ahmedabad. Very interesting. I've heard some of your earlier interviews also. I'm yet to pick up the book, but from today's talk, I find it very interesting. And I have one particular question, which is, what kind of, generosity is a word that when you used it, how do you make it work with discipline for today's generation when it's a much different, like, we have 20 years experienced professionals, and now you have kids coming in workforce who are born maybe when we went to college, and they're born with technology, their space, mind space, their thing, and the ideas of generosity or anything like that the principles with which we work. Like my alumni in work faces L&T, it came with a strong culture and structure, and 5 years working with Mr. Nayak teaches you a great deal, but today nobody even stays to stay 5 months, 6 months, an employee is there. It's like a big challenge. How do you put those principles in use with today's time and the generation which is very rapidly changing?
Good question, Khushbu. To be honest, I don't have a well thought of answer. I have not, I need to understand Gen Y and Gen Z used towards generosity much more. But let me say this. you said discipline. How do you be generous with discipline? What I have found, Kushbu, is one, if there are young people and they see others being generous to them, they may actually be motivated to also be generous towards others. Okay, we do to others what others do to us. So that's one. And second, what I try to do, and I think this can be doable at any age. I have a lot of work in the office every day. I've got work on marketing, I've got work on branding, I've got work relating to companies where I'm on the boards of. But I ask myself early in the morning, can I do at least one act of generosity too? Can I, is there something I can do that will help someone during the entire work day that I have? So if you can put some discipline like that, saying, let's, one act of unintended generosity can we do during a day, then I think that puts some discipline to this. Having said that, with younger people, I think we have to understand what are they passionate about. Okay, many young people in my daughter's generation are passionate about the environment, are passionate about a sense of purpose, are passionate about, shall I say, the entire world of digital and the entire world of, even gaming. So there are many things that they are passionate about. How can we introduce generosity into those areas is, I think, one way of probably, appealing to them. But let me tell you the truth, Kushbu, I have not thought through this answer. I will need some time to think through this before responding to you. What is your own view? How do you think youngsters can, if you're saying that they're not, what do you think we can do?
I work with almost 80 of younger people in my team, and every day they're teaching me. I'm relearning, I'm unlearning and relearning the whole thing. I think the biggest way I am dealing with it is unlearning. The ways of our world is very different from theirs. So that's why I said discipline. The idea of discipline that we followed, with which sincerity with which we worked, the aspiration with which we made our careers, I think that is very different. And unlearning that for a younger generation is the kind of a way to go about it. When we worked, we bought our first phones with our salary. We gave our salaries to our parents, and the times were very different. And today, average kid coming in a workforce does not need the job. He's just doing because he wants to do and he wants to explore. And so what aspirations drive them, what motivates them, it's total relearning. It's total kind of unlearning for us to kind of go about it. So mental health, pressure, work pressure, the definitions are very different for them. Office work culture. Somebody just came to us saying that I think Saturday I got a mosquito bite from office, so my sick leave should not be deducted. And I had to take 15 minutes to kind of think that how do I address this? That is not offensive. That's still right to the individual, and it's relearning. I don't have experience of doing this, so I think the best way I'm dealing is unlearning and relearning their ways of the world. And the generation that's changing way too fast, then we can, that's a workforce we are going to, at least in our industry, work with the generation which is very young, which is 18, 20, 25. So I think unlearning is the way to go about it. Rest, I would love to get your point of view if you think through it.
Yeah, I will think through it, Kushbu. There's a nice, but thank you for expressing that. I think you work with many more young people than I do. So your voice is very valuable in this area. Thank you for expressing your view and on unlearning. I can see a comment from Dr. Jinsi Jiju Matthew as well, who says young generation is thankless, not their fault, but we should keep going without expectations, and that too makes them learn. They're zapped. Aap kaise kar lete ho? Okay, so that's another point of view on the younger generation.
Patience.
Yeah.
I think I take inspiration of patience from my previous generation. Patience.
Yeah, that's right. So So interesting subject, Khushbu. I think, I mean, to tell you the truth, I'm not an expert in this space, so I'm not able to answer you very honestly. Okay.
Thank you, but thank you.
But unlearning is a good starting point. We should unlearn, the things that matter to our generation and start thinking like them. That's a good starting point.
Okay.
Because empathy is the best way of always trying to resolve a problem. Yeah. Thank you for your question, Khushbu.
Yeah.
Welcome, sir. Thank you.
So there's a question which has been marked to me in the WhatsApp because his mic is not working. And this is on behalf of, because we have a lot of advertising agencies here, sitting here. So
Very
they
good.
want to ask a question which is a little deviation from the subject which you're saying.
Okay.
But there is an opportunity which we wanted to ask. If you permit, can I ask you, sir?
You can ask me a question, but I don't know whether I will be able to answer it if it is outside the scope of this. For instance, I will not answer any questions on this show about Tata Group companies, etc.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not my role here. I'm just talking as the author of this book. That's all.
Yeah. So let me still ask you. He says that when you are selecting an ad agency and any other marketing partner like digital agency, what are the qualities and attributes you look for?
That's an interesting question. I would say, of course, I would look for, firstly, a spirit of partnership and not just a commercial transactional relationship. That means many things. That means both the client and the agency having to walk a little further than usual to develop great work. So that's one. The second thing that I would look for with an advertising agency is always the creative standards that the agency has. I would definitely look for the past creative work that they have produced and look at the creative quotient that they have been able to bring to their work. Because I do believe for marketers and for advertising agencies, new ideas and creativity is our lifeblood. That's what keeps us going. So I would definitely look for that. I would definitely look for the openness to learn and be consumer insight based, because how are you able to translate consumer insight into very, very good advertising, very, very good creative work is very important because it requires a leap that the best agencies are able to take. And I would also look for an openness and a flexibility in working because, the process of developing very good advertising or communication is often iterative. It doesn't happen in a straight line. And it requires the agency to have a very open mind to the client's views. It requires the client to have a very open mind to the agency's views. So that is also very important. And finally, I would look for who are the people that we are dealing with. Agency is an inanimate object or an inanimate entity. What really matters is the people whom we are going to interact with. And what is the spirit and the attitude and the expertise that they bring to the table would be very, very important to me, not just the name of the agency itself. But those are just some spontaneous thoughts, Sanjay. I think, of course, I will not observe how the agency is eating cookies at the meeting, if that's what the question refers.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
But these are some of the attributes I do.
Okay, thank you so much. So can we take the last question, sir?
Yeah, please go right.
Pritam, if you had asked.
Yes. So something that I wanted to ask you was you had a very interesting anecdote about work desk. How does a work desk look like? And basis work desk, you had a lot of interesting kind of observations about people. If you could just take all of us through that, because most of us are right now sitting on our work desk, so it will get us to know people better.
I'm very, very happy to very happy to do that, because it's an important subject. Okay, so if you look at work desks in offices, you will find some work desks which are totally clean. You will not find a single thing on the work desk. Okay, and then you will find other work desks which are totally cluttered. And I believe that that says a lot about the kind of person that you are. So I have actually, in my mind, classified people into different kinds based on how their work desk or their cubicle looks. There are people who are extremely minimalist. Okay, their work desk will be totally neat and clean, not a single paper, nothing out of place. This colleague will rapidly deal with papers who reach them. They will send them out immediately. These people are obsessed with cleanliness. But with their genuine credit, they also reduce the workload of the cleaning staff. That much I can say, because everything is clean, so nothing has to be cleaned. But this segment of meticulous managers has become very rare. You rarely see a work desk which is totally empty. Then you have I have a classification which I've called happy mountaineer. Piles of papers on the work desk. बहुत सारे papers रहते हैं उनके work desk पर. Huge piles of paper and documents. The mountains will grow bigger every day. But you know, this happy mountaineer, you may think that they will never find a paper within this mess, but they will know exactly where is the paper within this. And they will go to it with great accuracy, but only they will know. For someone else to find it is impossible. Because their office will resemble a combination of an earthquake-stricken area and a battlefield. So, but they will know where something is kept, and they will never dispose of things on their table. Then you know, people, you go to their work desk. Across their work desk, you will find photographs. Photographs of family, photographs of children, of parents, of friends, sometimes grandparents, sometimes in-laws also, and sometimes holidays in Europe, sometimes people are smiling, sometimes restaurant meals which are being eaten. Now, these are people who are, you know, totally at home in the family environment. Okay, they may be at the workplace, but for them, I think their family and friends are very, very important, and so important that they have to be all across. Then you find a work desk which is an achiever's work desk. You know, for an achiever's work desk, on their soft boards, you will find all the certificates they've got, all the trophies they've got, all the achievements. You will find photographs of someone gifting them certificates or awards, industry bodies, bosses giving them awards, certificates from sales conferences. These are all generally meant to impress people. And this is a person who is an achiever. Okay, then you have an intellectual. A person who wants to be seen as an intellectual by others, उसके work desk या cubicle में तो बहुत सारे books होंगे. Whether she or he has read the books or not is not important. You know, books तो होंगे ही, archaeology के books, quantum physics के books, economics, history, accounting, finance, law, biographies. ये books पढ़ने में 2-4 lifetime लग जाएंगे हमको, but books will be there. And if the books are looking new and opened, please don't mention this to the person, because the person will get hurt if he or she feels that you know that they have not read them. And they will be the people who will have very exotic pictures also in their offices. कोई Adam Smith का picture होगा, कोई Albert Einstein का picture होगा, Immanuel Kant का picture होगा, जो आपने नाम भी नहीं सुने होंगे. So that is an intellectual and the work desk of an intellectual. So the point I'm making is there are many other classifications in office secrets that I've mentioned. But the point I'm making is, you know, if you just look at office work desks, it can tell you a lot about the colleague who is working, and you can be also more sensitive to your own work desk, because that is the way others are perceiving you. So work desks tell a story of their own, and I think it is important for us to know that. And once again, like daydreaming, who conducts a session for you on work desks in any MBA school or any training program? किसी ने आज तक training किया है कि work desk कैसे maintain करना है? No. Although it is the most important thing in front of us every day when we go to office. So these are some of the talks on work desks, Ritam, that I spoke about.
Yeah. Thank you,
And
sir.
how is your work desk, sir?
My work desk is not too clean. It is small mountains, not very large mountains of paper, but very little. And I generally know what is where. But what happens is every 6 months, once I have to clean it out. Otherwise, the amount of paper and books on it keeps going up. Because as a person, I don't like to necessarily destroy something which I think may be useful in the future. That is my mindset.
Thank you. Thank you for the interesting questions. Yeah,
very interesting questions. But Sanjay, I would like to say that Office Secrets is a very nice book for all of you who want to understand the softer aspects of office, who want to delve into these secrets. Of course, the book is available on Amazon. But Sanjay, I have also got a message from a very good bookstore in Pune who sells books to Tata Management Training Center, that he is willing to give a very good price on these books if any of your people want to buy them. I think I requested Virat to mention this to you also.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
So yeah, so that's my submission on the book, Sanjay. Office Secrets for all your members to think of. And if Virat is here on this call, then I will tell him to also put on the chat the bookseller's name and phone number. You all can get in touch with him if you want to buy the book from him at a 35% discount.
Sure.
Yes, I'm right here, sir, and I will just put the number of Rohit Jerajani on the chat.
Yeah, thank you, Virat. Thank you very much.
So before we conclude and sign off, I would request my friend Mr. Unmesh Dikshit, who is the Executive Director for Ahmedabad Management Association, to formally share a few words as a vote of thanks to sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bhat, for sharing your secrets to the world. And now secrets are no more secret. So let this no secret become the best secret for everybody. And we learn these 50 things and implement in our day-to-day life, personal and professional life. You started from generosity and ended up to all the happy managers part. So that happy manager part was very nice tag. That if the managers are happy, the boss will be also happy, rather GM, and the employee, the ground level will be also happy. So we being a Ahmedabad Management Association, we are always in search of this kind of titles, which gives us new food for thought and action points also. So thank you very much for recharging us, reframing our mind of the topics which you have shared. Thank you very much, Sanjay ji, for initiating the collaboration with Ahmedabad Management Association. And we are very happy for this kind of academic insights, which is helpful on the virtual mode. So, Mr. Bhat, thank you very much on behalf of Brand Club and Ahmedabad Management Association. Thank you all the participants who have joined us online. Ritam ji and Kushbu and all others to whom we know personally also. Thank you very much everybody for joining. Mr. Das. Mr. Bhat, it is an open invitation on behalf of Sanjay Bhai and Ahmedabad Management Association. Whenever you are in Ahmedabad, or if you can plan a visit to Ahmedabad, we would like to host your actual session and create another memory from virtual session to the actual session. Thank you very much, everybody.
Sure. Thank you very much, Unmesh. Really, really appreciate those kind words. And thanks to all of you who have given me a very patient hearing. Really appreciate this. Thank you, Mr. Chakravarti, for inviting me.
My pleasure, sir. And we leave you with a promise that you're going to come back to Ahmedabad Management Association or to these forums. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
We will do that. Thank you very much.
Thank
Have
you.
a nice evening, all of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.